Mine says Wednesday, April 5th. So I don't know where you're seeing.
From the email.
Do you see this?
Yep.
Wait a
That's
second. I just sent it to you because she needs it in her PC. So Sarah, see if you have it. And has CJ logged in yet?
No.
I have so much trouble going through all the tabs.
CJ is as an attendee with his hand raised. Do you see him? Betsy, do you know how to move him over?
Yep. Hold on.
We're coming for you, CJ.
Open with Google Docs.
Hey, good evening. Thank you.
Hey, CJ.
Hey.
So Betsy is helping me out tonight. Because I don't know how to run these meetings and share my screen and all of that. So she's going to do that for us tonight.
Yep.
And Sarah, are you all set yet? Did you get the email I just sent
Yes,
with this attachment?
I see it. Yep. This is, yeah, this
It
is
says
the right
April
one.
5th.
Yep, it's the right one.
Okay, I don't know which one you were looking at, but so the first thing I'm going to do is let me see. I think I need to get out of full screen. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:04, having a quorum. And the first thing on our agenda is minutes. And Sarah just recently sent them out, and I think we can, I don't want to get behind again. So if Betsy pulls them up and we look at them,
Yep. Hold on.
if everyone is comfortable, we can read them, and or do you want to wait till our next meeting?
We approved the minutes from two other ones.
12:28 and 6:22.
So those just, I don't think I know what email. I never sent them last time.
Does
So
everybody see the draft minutes?
Let me, I'm trying to, I minimized my screen and now I can't find us. There you are, Betsy. Sarah,
So we
I don't
just-
know what you
we only need to approve February 22nd.
Correct,
And then we need to send all three in.
correct. When you send the old two, the earlier 2 minutes,
Yeah.
if you can say we approved them at the last meeting, what the February meeting.
I just don't know where to send them or who or.
Yeah, I'll direct you after the meeting. We don't need to waste time on it, okay?
Yep.
I'm going to ask you to send 2 separate emails because they need to know what meeting they were approved at,
Sure.
even though they'll get dated today. All right, so phew, here we go. So the minutes, Betsy, if you can pull up
Mhm.
the minutes I just sent you, they're from February.
Here they are.
And the commissioners can choose not to approve them because you just got them if it looks too complicated. But if we can whip through them, that would be better. I don't think there's a lot to be. You having trouble getting them?
No, they're right up. They should be right there. I
No,
can see them on mine.
can anyone
I
else
sh-
see them?
I still see today's agenda.
I just see the
Okay.
agenda.
No, it's probably on the wrong tab, sharing.
All right, hold on. Let me do this. Share. Are they there?
Nope.
Oh, shit. Okay, hold on.
I think
What?
you need to close it all out, and
All right.
Do you know how to do this, Sarah, for another
did it.
meeting?
I did it last time.
I forgot, so.
Hold on.
Or can she give you permission to share and you could put them up if she can't?
I think CJ knows how as well.
Yeah, I did it last time. I just have to send it to my trying to get it to my work email address. Give me 1 sec.
All right, we'll get better organized for our next meeting. It's been we've been a long time without having a quorum and being able to have meetings regularly, so I feel a little pressure to.
Taking it.
Can you shut that one down?
I did. I'll do it again. I'll shut it down again.
It says I'm viewing your screen.
Okay. Okay, here I can take it real quick.
All right.
Here, right?
You're taking over, CJ?
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Still the April 5th agenda.
It says I am screen sharing, but doesn't seem to be working.
It says you are viewing Town of Southborough's screen still.
Okay, Betsy, can you stop sharing?
I did. I went out of it.
Oh, I think it's frozen.
Okay, I'm stop sharing.
Ah,
All right,
okay.
there we go.
Now it's stopped, yeah.
Does that allow you to share, CJ?
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
Oh,
Why
great.
wasn't it? I don't understand why it didn't work with me.
That was weird.
I'm sorry.
All right,
I-
well, if CJ, we'll leave you on standby, Betsy, okay?
Okay. All right, no worries.
All right, so we're all gonna read through this. The introduction was easy. When we approved the minutes, there were no edits, we just approved them,
Right.
okay?
Yep.
I'm down to the library. Can you scroll up or down, whichever means I see more of the page? Okay, if everyone's with me, I'm down to town meeting. I have an edit here. Do you see where it says discussed a possible zoning change on Woodland Road? That,
Yep.
I'm not sure exactly what I said, but I think I would have said that that I didn't put on the agenda because I didn't believe it was open space related.
So should I fill that in?
That would be an edit if the
Yeah.
commission agrees.
Well,
to-
something needs to be.
And that's what was going on.
Yeah.
I was asked to put it on our agenda and I told there was a citizen's petition
Mhm.
and I told the petitioner, it was David Perry's petition, and it was for zoning change that didn't have an open space component, in my opinion. As chair, I declined to put it on our agenda. And we can have an update on that later in the meeting. And that, so that's separate. Can you add that there?
What's the wording? Woodland Road that wasn't,
You could ask, instead of possible zoning change, write citizens petition on Woodland Road that Freddie declined to put on the Open Space Commission's agenda. And it probably shouldn't be discussed. It should be Freddie notified because there was nothing to discuss because I didn't put it on the agenda. I notified you that we'd been asked and I had declined.
commission of possible citizen petition on Woodland Road that,
Freddie declined, the chair declined to put on our agenda.
okay.
But we would follow it through the planning board process.
Okay.
All right. So I've read the minutes, and aside from that, does anyone else have any edits they would want to add, or?
I just saw above the word plant was missing an L. We would like to still recommend plants from Dr. Gigier's at-risk pollinator plant risk list.
Okay, say that fast.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
added
Add
an
the
L
L.
to plant, yeah.
So the motion, if people aren't familiar, I don't know, CJ, if you're familiar, it would be, I make a motion to approve the minutes for the date there. What was it? February 21st as amended. And someone could say right now, so moved, or you could say what I just said again.
So moved.
And then is there a second? And CJ, that would be you.
A second.
So now I do a roll call to say if you're in favor or not. Sarah,
Sarah Rostano in favor.
CJ,
CJ Tully in favor.
and Freddie Gillespie in favor, so that passes. Okay, so we're done with that, and Sarah, I'll contact you after the meeting with directions who to send it to, okay?
Mm-hmm.
To the town clerk, but just make sure we get the email right. If you don't hear from me, text me to let me know. So now we're back to current projects on the agenda. And the first thing is we have Planet Palooza, which is celebrating Earth Day, and we went over this last time.
Mhm.
I sent you the information on the woman singer concert. We had agreed to have her last year, and then we had to cancel it. So sorry, we had to cancel it. And so we agreed to have it again. So this is sort of already been approved, but did anyone get to listen to the declare on the website I sent you a link to?
Yeah, I took a look at it. I liked her.
Okay, so are we okay in having her come, and we just have to pick the date?
I think so.
And the goal would be to have it, this is what we had planned last year, at the library next to the pollinator garden. So there can be the concert where people can come, there can be the garden tour, and maybe a table with some information about the native pollinator initiative, native plant, native pollinator initiative of the Open Space Commission. And the dates for the concert, Saturday the 22nd is Earth Day, and the Rotary Club has the annual cleanup day there. So we don't want to double book that day. So it would be Sunday the what would that be?
23rd.
23rd?
Mhm.
At noon? And then if that doesn't work, the following Saturday, that's why we're making it a week long. I prefer that Sunday at noon, because then we could possibly have that Saturday as a rain date. I'm not sure if they'll hold 2 dates open. But who here would be able to attend on any of those times to help out? Stop by, have fun.
Can you repeat the date?
Sunday, the 23rd at noon. Or Saturday, the 30th,
29th.
29th. Not looking at a
Um,
calendar.
I could probably be there on the 23rd. I don't know about the 29th.
All right, that's 2. What about you, Sarah?
Possibly the 23rd, the 29th, maybe for a little bit in
All right.
between kids' games.
Right. So I'm going to ask her for the 23rd. And I also have to double check with the library. Sunday's better because they're not open and parking will be better. And we have volunteers that will help from the Native Plant Gardens of Southborough group that help out a lot. I'm going to say what this will require. Just want to make sure it's not on the agenda somewhere else. Okay, so to pull this off, the library garden needs to be freshened up. We're going to have if you agree, a work day this Saturday to make, I don't know if anyone's been by the garden. There's flags that identify where the plants are. We're ready. The plants are large enough now so that we can tell them from weeds, we hope. So we will need to do weeding and remove the pink flags and replace them with, have you ever seen the stakes in the ground with the plant names in them when you go to the botanical garden? Well, we have the stakes, we have a printer and the tape, and we're going to be this Saturday making those. And if any, I'll put out an email, and I've got the I've mentioned the charter school AMSA
AMSA?
students come and volunteer with us. So they asked if we had any more days for them. So I hope they'll be coming, and a few other people, and you're welcome to attend as well. I'll put out an email. So
And
we'll
that's
be making the plant stakes, and then we'll be having to have other work days to clean up the garden area and put the plant stakes in. And so it's an attractive place. April's tough because it's not really a day when the garden's in bloom, but we can clean it up a little bit, okay? And here's the next question I have to ask the library. Because this garden meets the qualifications, there, I think I only sent it to Betsy, so I don't know. Did you guys get a copy of the sign?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to bring that up,
Yeah. Sorry.
sorry for the last minute. But I told someone if we didn't do stuff last minute, we'd do 80% less. Unfortunately.
Coming. On top of my inbox yet.
You having trouble?
It's just I have to forward all this to my work
Oh,
email to
sorry.
access it.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So this is a sign that, there's a QR code that links you to the Beecology project of Dr. G. Gear's research, where you can take pictures of insects visiting the plants and then upload them. It becomes part of the data set and, citizen science. And it's one of the things we advocated for with these gardens, that they would help provide opportunities for children and adults to participate in citizen science. And this sign from Dr. G. Gear it's only being, it's not like something you're going to see everywhere, only special gardens that meet the criteria, which is, the goal is to cover the pollen and nectar needs for the whole season for our at-risk pollinators. And we're not 100%, but we're pretty close at the library. So as this is a open space commission project, I'd want your approval to use it as our collaboration, but we'd also then need to send it to the library for them to say okay. And then the Southborough Open Land Foundation, where we also have a garden at their property, they've already agreed to allow us to put it there, but rightfully so. They could do it on their own, but we're partnering, we're bringing it to them, so I'd like a vote. And also it will be at the Breakneck Hill, but the stewardship committee would be the ones really I represent the Open Space Commission, but we're not running the show there. The stewardship committee is, so that would be another approval. Is there any comments on this sign, or can you read the small print? Just says interested in joining the Beecology team. And
I like it. It's simple and eye-catching.
yeah. And then eventually what I'd like to do is have a separate sign we make with a link to the Open Space Preservation Commission to discuss why we're doing this and, our role in all of this effort, as well as maybe the plants in the garden, which are very similar to the plant list that we do the winter sow seeds from, because that's where we get the seeds, right? From the gardens. But so, and people don't want a lot of sign pollution. So I'm thinking maybe we could get one pole with like 2 signs on it. Have you seen those kinds, like so they wouldn't be huge signs, but one on top of the other maybe, or one on one side, one on the other. We'd have to discuss that with the library. So is there a motion to approve? Is there any other discussion? Sarah said she liked it.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve this, just to be official? To use on the gardens?
Yep, I'll submit that motion.
Okay. Is there a second? That would be you, Sarah.
I second.
Okay. All in favor? Sarah?
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
CJ?
CJ Talley in favor.
And Freddie Gillespie in favor. All right, so that passes. Back to the agenda. So for Planet Palooza, the next thing on the agenda still is other group activities. So the umbrella will cover our concert, the Rotary Club, the Southborough Open Land Foundation is having a talk at the library that week on coyotes. So everyone has their own programming, but it's sort of like an umbrella. We're not running the other programs. We're just saying, making it a bigger event. The stewardship committee for the Breakneck Hill and Town Forest is partnering with the Trails Committee, and we're going to have a walk at the Town Forest with a he used to be a ranger, I forget which state park, but it will be a naturalist discussion walk. They had it last year, and within like half an hour of announcing it, it filled up. So we'll have 2 walks on Sunday. Is that the 30th? And then what else is there? There might be something else. Whatever other group wants to come in, we can add them in because it's individual groups doing the events. We may have another walk at the Beals Preserve. And what is the other item here? I may be asking the library, somebody offered to sell, he planted 3,500 plugs of rose milkweed for monarchs, and they're on Dr. G. Gear's list as well for at-risk bees, for nectar. So it's a win-win, and he's selling them for $3 a plug, which is a very good price, covers his cost. And he's in Connecticut, and he's offering to drive up for people who want to purchase it. And there's a lot of people interested. I'm not sure if April is too early to get them, but if it isn't, and he's willing to come up that day, I thought it would be another thing at the library where people could buy these plugs for $3. But I also have to ask and check in with the library if that's something they'd be willing to allow, because there's, money. It's not like he's making a profit. It's purely, his gas money and soil. But if they're willing for that, is there any objection to me asking for that?
No objection from me.
No.
Sound like a good enough idea? Okay. I don't know if there was anything else there. So the Rotary Club Day of Service is May 20th. They approached us to do a day of service with us, and they had to know right away, so I had to come up with something. This commission is working at the Beals Preserve, so I chose that as a place because they're bringing in kids from volunteers from one of the school programs, and it had to be something that without a lot of expertise and with maybe a lot of, you don't know who's coming or how many, and it could be chaotic. So that was something that seemed easiest. It's putting down cardboard and covering it with wood chips to make a new planting area for the future. And they're on board with that. And it's, I think, like 9 o'clock in the morning on the 20th, 9 or 10. And I would hope that other commissioners could come if possible, but really it's for the Rotary Club to do this project. They just needed a project and they wanted to support us. So, and then, is anyone interested in coming that day, or we'll be seeing the PR go out? I know it's hard for people, weekends with kids and everything. The next one is the Pollination Preservation Gardens. For the life of me, I don't know what else to talk about there. We just talked about the library and the signage and we're going to be needing work days and getting people to help volunteer. I'll be trying to set up something for the Beals Preserve. So what I'll do is basically every weekend we'll do a work day, and if people can come, they're welcome to come. But CJ and Sarah, would you like to have us get together in person to go visit one of these gardens, find a time we can do it?
Yeah, I've never been to the Beals one.
Okay. And CJ, how about you? Have you seen any of them, or?
Yeah, I've ran through them. Beals I've actually ones I've been to.
Right. So one of the things we do want to do is get a dedicated group to manage both of those, so it's not just the same people over and over again, but create information on what's growing there and why we're doing it and how it helps save species from extinction, actually, or local extinction anyhow. So that's an ongoing project. Then there's the next item is the master plan and open space and rec plan review. So I don't know, CJ, do you have my spreadsheet?
Mm-hmm. 1 second.
I don't know if you're, if it was me not being able to open and read your document, or if it is, because you had created a Smart Share, was it?
Yeah.
But I
Sure.
didn't, yeah, I didn't see as much information there as is in the plan. So if you, I'd like to combine them all, but I didn't have time. It took a long time to get this to work, but, this here is, the yellow and this one are, well, there's two things. The top yellow is for the Trails Committee, but it says collaborating with us, so I wanted to highlight that. And the other one is for the Open Space Commission to be working on. So, part of what we're doing with protecting biodiversity, this garden tour we're having goes towards fulfilling that implementation. So we want to start figuring out a way of how we document what we're doing to fit into the plan, if that makes sense, because we do a lot of this, but we want to start thinking about making it more of a template of some kind that we're checking off things we're doing, not just haphazard. And if anyone wants to take that up and think about it and, sort of have a little bit of ownership of some of these items, please put your name next to the spreadsheet or something. If you go to the table 76, these are almost all open space except for the ones that are gray area. And this here this sheet is all about preserving open space. And I think this would require a whole workday meeting just to go over. We have plans, we have information. How would we even start going about this? It's a pretty, I don't know why everything here is short term, because, I forget how many years it is. And I don't know why some are asterisk. If someone goes through the plan and can find out what the asterisk means, or is that spots on my screen? I think it's asterisks.
That's asterisk.
Yeah, I don't know what they mean. I'm sure it says somewhere in the plan. I just couldn't figure it out. But there's a lot of, so where it says deliver a map of open space, we don't have to make the map, but it means, that's a lot of work to get, the planning department would have to work on that with us, and GIS, the town's GIS is so far behind. I think the most recent map is 2011. So when you go on our town GIS and you put the aerial map in, you don't see half the roads. Any roads are, well, the roads are there because they update that, but you don't see any of the GIS of houses or subdivisions that have been built. It's a real issue. If we're going to get this, somebody needs to get the GIS updated, I'd say. So maybe that's our task, tell the town they need to update the GIS before we can do that. Sarah, are you at your computer with this open?
Yes.
Maybe when we look at it, and if I say something like that, we could make a note of it, so next time we have it. Because I don't have this open to type into it, but.
Right,
Yeah.
about,
So like an F, maybe see the F spells? Maybe that could be notes. and then go down to OS 1.3,
Mhm.
So,
right? You know, we need, the town's GIS needs to be updated. There's also a subcommittee, can put this up next to it, underneath in that same cell, with the planning board to update the deed research project, and we have a little bit of funding to do that, which would help map subdivisions that have been done since the last time we did that.
what was that for subdivision mapping?
So, are you familiar with the town's GIS program?
I think I went into it during our last meeting, but I haven't looked at it extensively.
So, it's confusing, but you know how GIS works, there's data layers, and one of them is open space, and it doesn't even have everything done correctly, and it doesn't even have any of the more recent ones on it. But in the open space, what we had done was, one of the ways the town acquired open space was through the subdivision process. And subdivisions for major residential, which is over 8 units, or if a project proponent wanted to go that route to get benefit of smaller lot sizes, you can take advantage of that by providing open space percentages to the town. And every subdivision required a 10% open space. And sometimes they were done by easements on people's properties, and sometimes they were done by a chunk of land that was given to the town or to another person. And nobody had tracked where all this open space was, right? So back in the early 2000s, the Open Space Preservation Commission did a project where we said we need to go through, we had to go through, and at that time it required unrolling paper plans in the planning department's filing cabinets and highlighting where the open space was and getting someone to transport that into the GIS. And because it wasn't clear if the open space had been properly deeded and properly protected, when it's on the GIS data layer, it says town identified open space versus another data layer just for open space. And the reason they did that is because they couldn't say for sure at the time if they were actual protected open space or not. They were supposed to be per the subdivision, but were they or weren't they was another question. And we had a second project where we had a lawyer go in and look at them and created a database of all the subdivisions open space. And one of the best uses for that is our town planner uses it all the time. So it was a huge benefit, but it didn't really, you know, it's still being used, but we don't use it ourselves that much. But we maybe will, for the priority open space, we will go back to that. It's, you know, look into it again. But it needs to be updated because nothing's been added to it since we did the project. And I think that was like in the, I don't know, at least 7 years ago, maybe 10, I don't know. I'd have to double check. But another document I want to highlight here to add next to it. I'm not sure. Is there anyone here, any one of these that says identify priority parcels? Criteria define goals for strategic, that OS 1.1 under notes. And you know what you can do, Sarah? You can make that cell bigger, you know, in all of them, because we're going to have more notes. Yeah. You could say, check out the Audubon report for priority wildlife habitat. Okay.
Audubon, like that.
Yeah, we hired Mass Audubon and they did a report, and it wasn't a survey of each parcel like on foot, but it was identifying the size of it, the wetland components, if it was near other protected parcels, and it created a formula and it gave a score to every undeveloped or underdeveloped property. And by underdeveloped, if there was a house on 10 acres, that got included. And then any parcel that wasn't developed, and it gave them a score. And for wildlife habitat, and wildlife habitat is only one reason you would protect open space, but it's an important one. And so we have that information, and it could be gone through again. A lot of them have been developed, or, so it's not exact, but it's the best data we have. And that would be included in the open space and rec plan as an appendix. So we can find it there. So is this one okay? I mean, why I kept the OS 1.5, we want to be aware of that, So one of the things that happened was open space parcels get approved by town meeting, and for various reasons in the past, the best place for open space parcels is to be under the care and control of the Conservation Commission. And for whatever reason, there were several probably, sometimes it's just town owned, and the town one doesn't have any management oversight process for dealing with open space parcels. And the best thing is to have it all under the Conservation Commission. And that also, if a parcel isn't, it gives it extra protection because it becomes, and you'll hear this term again, Article 97 land, which has extra protection like a conservation restriction. It's not quite that permanent, but you can't take it and build on it afterwards without going to the state legislature to get permission. They have to vote to approve it. And whoever wants to build on it has to provide a parcel of the same size and same quality to the town for open space. So it really creates added benefit, which is what we always want to see in open space. So anyhow, I think this is something we can work. I guess the two things is I will try to send you links to the Audubon report and the deed research report. It's a database. It's really, you work with databases, CJ?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a very robust database that the lawyer and Mass Audubon helped put together for us. It's really, you can search by the subdivision or the parcel or whatever. So really very useful if you're interested in where all the open space is. So the next one is the one I wanted to talk about, invasives and native plants. So what I did is I didn't know how to get the info out. So using what skills I had, I converted the PDF master plan into Excel. I can't believe it worked, but it did. And it came up with these 81, and there was more, maybe 90 tabs. And these are the ones that had the open space. So every page was a table. That was the one I was telling you was taking me an hour to download it.
Hmm.
But so I mean, there's a lot here. Sarah, you see at the bottom, there is our old one. We've kind of let it go and we have to revisit that. Back when we started, we were really interested in the wildlife habitat community. And there's reasons that I'm not as enthusiastic about it now. But we should revisit that. Weren't you managing that?
Yeah.
We were on our way. And it made it, you know, because the master plan took 3 years to develop. So it made it into the plan, but, you know, we may want to consider if that's something we want to consider. One of the things is everyone who wants to do it has to pay money to register their land. And there might be better programs than going through that program because basically you don't, you know, it's just sort of recommendations. You don't have to be all that wonderful in your management either. But we should revisit that. The two I wanted to talk about here. I think it was NR 5.3. So this is something we've been doing, and I'm sorry I'm doing all the talking here. I'm hoping you guys will grab on to some of these and run with them in the future, but it's kind of hard when you don't know what they are. Every time a site plan or a subdivision or a project with lower impact development goes in front of the planning board, we're given the plans to review and comment. And if there's an open space requirement, we make a recommendation on that. And if there's any planting, we make recommendations on that as well. And our town bylaws reference using native plants. And it's a requirement for lower impact development. And it's, I think since about 2017, the planning board has been really adhering to the requirements that might have been overlooked in the past. So this is a wonderful opportunity that we get to participate in. And now they went even further. They want us to give them the recommendation, like create a policy for them, formally adopt it. So I think that's something I'd like to do because we're doing it all the time, and it would be easier if they had our list of what we want. And developers come in and, you know, they're project proponents and they're required to do native plants, but they come in with a list that's not. And, you know, it would be easy if the planning board just had it to give to them, right? So one of the things we have always done is say it has to be native to New England and per Go Botany, which has maps. And Go Botany is run by the Native Plant Trust. So they're like the biggest expert there is for the New England. And it just sort of takes, is it or isn't it? And I think we just need to write that up. But I would also like, given that we've now in our 9th season working with Dr. G. Gear, to have added that a preference for his plants. Have I sent you out his plant list?
I'm not sure if I've seen that.
I'll send it to you. And it's also, it's the plants in all these pollination preservation gardens, and they're the plants that at Breakneck Hill, where we have increased the population of a most at-risk bee, and now he's adding butterflies into it. We have seen firsthand it makes a difference when you use these plants. And so I don't think I'm going to say we're going to make this recommendation today. I don't know how we're going to. Well, why don't you tell me what you think you'd like before you're comfortable making a recommendation to the planning board? We've already been doing the Go Botany. They pretty much have accepted that for many years. We just need to write it out as our formal plan. I believe the Conservation Commission, when a project proponent comes in front of them, their conservation agent is already giving them Dr. G. Gear's list. So there's nothing here that's too far out there. You know, it has to be, and none of this would be absolute because it's always absolute in the hands of the planning board and the Conservation Commission, but a recommendation. So what would you like to see before we, to be able to finalize this or formalize it? Or a trip to the gardens, I think watching one of Dr. G Gears, has any, oh yeah, I sent the link out. I don't know, were you able to watch it, anyone?
Yeah, I saw it.
Did you have any comments on it, or?
That was interesting. No comments or anything.
Okay, Sarah? You've been immersed in this for a while, so.
Yeah, and I've seen him in person
Yeah,
too,
he's better in person, I'll tell you that.
presenting, but nothing new.
Any thoughts on moving in this direction?
For developing the actual policy.
Yeah,
I mean, if we've done this, I mean, I haven't been a part of these, right? But if we've done this a few times, we should have a sense, right, of the guidelines, and it's just a matter of putting them to paper. It seems simple enough.
yeah, I can write it up and send it out to the commission before our next meeting for you to review. Because of open meeting law, we need to discuss what I'm writing so that it's not new information, right? I can't be giving you my opinion. So what it would be is requiring native to New England straight species, no cultivars. And this is and this has to be discussed with the boards, they can say no.
Right? Is that the right word? No cultivars.
Yeah, and then additionally, with a preference for plants on Dr. Robert G. Gear's list. Can you hold on a second?
Yeah, I need to. I'm trying to name.
Sorry. I can't even find where oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. I needed to mute myself and I couldn't find the mute. So the only caveat in that is that Dr. G. Gear's list includes some plants which aren't native to New England, but are in our eco zone. And what that means is throughout New England, there's another, they started to identify after, everything was native by county and state. They started to identify that a lot of these plants are in a zone that isn't defined by states. It's the different reasons, and something that's in your eco zone, even if it's not naturally occurring, like in Massachusetts, it's right over the border in New York. For how I work it with other groups I'm in, if it's in the eco zone and it's on Dr. G. Gear's list, it's good enough, right? But not good enough. It's a better plant than other plants that might be, purely native that aren't helping these species that are headed towards extinction. So if those three caveats, if I write them up and we can look at it at our next meeting, we've already deliberated if you're okay with that, and it's just the language. It would just be the, not the content, but the wordsmithing.
Yeah, works.
Does that work? Sarah, good for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not just the low impact development, it's codify recommendations for, low impact development is one permit. It's also for site plan, subdivisions, and projects in front of the Conservation Commission, all of that.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Projects.
In front of the Conservation Commission, that's wetland based. Subdivisions was the next one.
Subdivision.
I think that, I'm not sure if there's any other special permits that require native plants. Okay. So that would be one that we, it would, if we get that done, that's really knocking something off of this list here. So then we can look at these goals and implementation items and be working for them in the future. I will say some of these are pretty not so easy, like short term, medium term, like create and manage all town-owned properties to be landscaped with native plants. That's not an easy turnaround, and I don't know if we had a say in the short term or not, but it certainly isn't something that's going to happen right away. We can't even get people to, it's always challenging. The pushback is huge. And then there's a lot of people that accept it and want to do it, but it's a huge learning curve to make that happen. All of these. So the goal is to expand the use. That makes sense, but all town-owned properties, landscaped with native plants. If that ever happened in my lifetime, I'd be shocked. So anyhow, so that's that. The open space and rec plan. I don't know if you want to bring that up, CJ. It was on I don't have it in this document. It was on your shared sheets. I don't know what that was.
Okay.
And again, I'd like to not, because I'm not 100% sure. Were you sure these were all open space commission jobs or not?
Yeah, that's what I went through and looked for.
Okay. No, I think under number 2, that goes in with the master plan, creating the priorities. This could be, these parcels are identified as ones to be protected, maybe. So I think there's some overlap on number 2 with one of the others. I'm not sure that we're, I guess one of the problems with the open space and rec plan, people said, was that we had too many people doing, not one group was responsible for everything. There's too much collaboration. But I think number 2 would be good to look at for when we start managing, talking about which parcels to protect in the master plan. They want us to come up with a list, I think, but so. So is this something you want to, a lot of these are trails type work, and we may not have had a trails committee when we first made this plan. I'm not sure what year they came into play. So it's a lot of trail stuff here. I don't have anything else on this. I mean, it's a time thing. I think we need to be familiar with it and not forget that we need to be working on it. Take it out every meeting and pick off something or
Yeah.
finish off something.
It's the first time I've had a chance to review a lot of this. There's definitely a lot, to your point. But I think, yeah, for me, the first step is just knowledge of what this all is and what some of these steps would be. So I think checking some of these off, like, the development of that plan is a good starting point, and then we can continue to review these and kind of maybe take off some bigger pieces in the coming months.
Yeah, and it's to remember the master plan is a 10-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And the open space and rec plan is a 7-year plan, but we're getting to the tail end of it. And, you know, we had some functioning capacity struggles. So that I will say the last time we had an open space and rec plan and master plan, we checked off that we had completed an awful lot of it. More than for the master plan, I think we had checked off all of our assigned activities for implementation. So we can go through this and just keep it. And like you just said, CJ, you're just new to this. How would you know what half of this stuff is, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that happened with our commission is land protection, which when there's a land protection project, my experience has been it's all in, right? And we work really hard on our main focus, but they come across our, they don't happen often. And for an example, the town purchased Breakneck Hill in the 70s, and it was 30 years later, 30 years before they did another land protection, which was the conservation restriction on Chestnut Hill Farm. And since that time in 2006, we have protected additionally the golf course and the Halloran property. And the Open Space Preservation Commission played a key role working with other groups, but we played a key role in both of those. And the issue is land is so expensive in Southborough and there's not as much left of it. The opportunity is, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities. So, and then we also had trouble when parcels became available and we had the funding and everyone said the town should vote on it. There was a pushback and it never went to town meetings. So these sorts of things meant we wanted to look at how else we can protect the attributes of open space when we're not actually doing the outright preserving the land. Because, you know, so that's how we came up with the focus on the native plants and pollinators, because it's you know, it's something we can work on and make a big difference. And not the definition of protected open space, but if I hadn't said this before, I'll say it again. There's a definition of, not for permitting and not in our zoning code, but the generic definition of open space is anything that's open to the air and sky. So if you take a bird's eye of Southborough, anything that's not a road or built on is open space. And that means how we manage people, you know, how people manage their yards and how we manage public spaces and how we manage even conservation land. It's all open space under that definition. And if we can make it better wildlife habitat, we are doing our charge of facilitating the preservation of open space. So that's that. All right, what's else on the agenda? Unless somebody wants to look at this chart more.
Winter sow.
Yeah, I wanted to, so we had talked about the 1,500 seed packets we gave out. And one of the things is that we could follow up on is we don't know really how, you know, what people get the packets, they go home and well, we had the winter sow workshop, but we also know, you know, we don't really know how they're doing. And I find people tend not to respond to emails so much. I don't know. And I was thinking maybe if we did a doodle poll, and I don't know about Doodle, I came up with SurveyMonkey. If somebody else knows how to do is, you know, what kind of program to use to send out an email. Okay, first of all, it has to be an email, but if people can respond by just checking, clicking instead of writing anything, did you actually sow the seeds? Did the plant survive? Those sorts of questions would be really important to know. And I looked at Doodle Poll and it was like, for the free version, you could only get like 10 responses, and we need to get this out to, close to, I don't know, 160 people or more that participated. And, if even half of them to respond, or, even 10, well, 10% of them would be more than the 10 responses we could get, and we would hope for a better return. I just thought it was something to look into. And if somebody knows, it means, I think from what I came up with is Survey Monkey, which I've never done any of this, but would be, I came up with one. It was like $99 a month, but I think it was, you could do it for 1 month maybe. So you didn't, and the other one was like an annual for like $468, which I don't know how many of these we would do. So I don't know. We don't know if it will work, if people will respond. But I'm just trying to also find out how we can get more volunteers, because if you say, would you be a volunteer, and they might, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think people would respond to a poll better than an email?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the call to action. Like you said, it's going to come in and be an email either way, so you're going to people that dismiss it regardless. But it's easier to respond on something they just click, right, as opposed to actually having to respond via text. So yeah, I think you'll get a better response right there.
It's like, in the subject line, you could write something like easy poll, winter sow, or, something to get them to open it up.
Yeah, I think you can probably use Google Forms or whatever it's called for free too. So if you want to just shoot me sort of, the questions you're looking to ask, or responses we're trying to drive, I can put that together.
That would be awesome. And then we could vote to spend, would Google cost money, or can you just do it?
No, I'm pretty sure it should be free. I'll see if there's any limitations with number of responses, but I'm pretty sure it's fine.
Yeah, it was interesting because right before the meeting, I tried to Google Doodle Poll again, and I came up with something completely different. And it wasn't for the type of poll I wanted. It was all about scheduling, scheduling meetings. And, I've been involved in those ones when you got a lot of people trying to see who can make a meeting, but that's not what I wanted. And it's not what, anyhow. So yeah, I'll think about the questions, and then we can talk about it at our next meeting. We're not critical time-wise. I'll tell you an interesting story. So 2 years ago, a company did a day of work at Breakneck Hill. They came in and volunteered. And at that event, I talked to them a little bit about native plants and why we're focused on them, and, while we're working, gave them a little scientific overview of the gardens and why we do it. And, people went on their way, and we got a lot of work done, and that was that. Yesterday, this gentleman posted on a Facebook group that he had attended that, and he has now turned his whole yard into a native plant garden. And he's dug in deep, and he's gone to all these workshops. I had no clue he had, that he's out there, and it was a response to volunteering. So kind of nice if we could get a little more feedback on, we know the people we know that stay in touch, but when you have 160 or something people that participated, it would be nice to know, a little bit more. So I'll do that. St. Mark's Road Street Park. So that past town meeting, they did the land swap. I don't know where the working group is on designing the plan. I don't know, is Pam Stivers, are you there? I don't know. His name's there, but I don't know if he's there.
I guess he'd have to put his hand up or something.
Hi,
There
Sam.
it is.
If we make you, we have to make him a panelist to speak. Can I ask you a question? You can't talk, I bet. Do you know how to bring him over and he can say he wants to, he can give us an update or not? Do you know how to do that, CJ?
I don't have that.
Betsy, are you still there?
Yep, it's done.
I'm here. I just put him over. He should be
Okay,
there.
I'm audible now.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Freddie.
I was just wondering if you can tell us what the next steps for the St. Mark's Street Park is? You know?
We're going to talk about that Monday evening, I guess. Again, I don't know for sure, but my expectation is that we're going to move forward. The contractor is supposed to get back to work in June. And so we need to move to be prepared to work with that group and tell them what we need to do. We've got the picture, if you will, of the park design. And my guess is there's going to be some more engineering work that has to be done to get that ready for the contractor. But also on the legal side, we've got to get the actual land swap agreements done, and Town Council and St. Mark's Council are working on that one as well. So
So it's
yes.
not going out to bid for the landscape plan?
I don't know. The Perkins contractor group that did the Main Street thing basically is going to actually do the physical contractor work. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of landscape work there.
And so you don't know about that. And when you say Monday, is that the select board is talking about it Monday?
Select board, yeah, select board meeting. I think it's Monday evening. Is it Monday or Tuesday? One of these weeks we got a odd schedule. Let me look and see.
Okay. Another question I had for you, I believe the park, I don't know about the parking lot, all of that has to go for site plan?
Right, that they're working on that with St. Mark's. That's St. Mark's issue.
The park would be the town's issue?
St. Mark's actually has to work with them on the road, I think. At
For the
least
road?
there's been conversation. I don't remember off the top of my head, Freddie, but St. Mark's is going to be working with planning board on site plan.
For the parking lot and the road, but they don't own the park after the swap.
That's correct. Yeah.
So the town would have to get site plan before they can start construction, correct?
I don't know. I've not heard conversation about that. I've not heard the planning board actually make that request. They've talked about working with St. Mark's, but not the town.
Does the planning board have to make a request for something that's required?
Again, I don't know, so I don't want to guess.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. I just know that the Open Space Preservation Commission, even though I'm not on the committee, still has a role to play in making recommendations here. And I would hope that that plan wasn't finalized, and we can have a discussion about that at our next meeting, but try to find out more.
Okay, and again, obviously, stay tuned, keep up with the select board meetings. Probably the best way to keep track of what's going on next couple of steps here.
Okay, because I could be mistaken, but I thought it needed to go out to bid to hire a landscape architect because they weren't under contract. And I think the cost would be more than what's required to just say, oh, you can do it. But
We had VHB had some money left over from someplace else, and so they actually put together another version of the plan, which
it was called
I
a
thought
bubble
was going to
plan?
be. Yep, I guess so.
Yeah, hopefully they can make changes to that, but if not, oh well. But the trees are in the wrong spot.
Yeah, they've talked about that. I've heard conversation about that, so I think there's some flexibility there. But
And
and I think
at the public hearing, there was a lot of talk from a lot of the participants that they wanted reduced. It wasn't just the Open Space Commission or me, reduced lawn. So that was something we would weigh in on.
Okay,
And then the specific plants and in the rain gardens, which, we would want to help make it as environmentally proactive as, not proactive, environmentally beneficial as possible. Which would make
there's been
sense.
conversation about keeping the committee intact for a while to supervise that kind of stuff. So my guess is that they'll be involved in that going forward.
Okay, are they not still involved now?
They are, but I think their terms expire June 30th or something like that. So I've
Okay.
heard, I can't remember who suggested it, but somebody, maybe it was Andrew, suggested that we keep them active for a while through the construction project, certainly.
Yep, okay. Thank you for the information, Sam. Did anyone else have a question for him on the park or anything? It's exciting that it's going to move forward and not be a,
Yeah,
we
dirt
can go
pile.
on to the next phase of it.
Well, that's right to the street for me. That's exciting, but no questions for me.
Sarah?
No, I'm very curious as to what everything's going to end up looking like.
Okay. Well, thank you. And
Hopefully
thank
very
you,
nice.
Sam.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So our next agenda item, I think, is sort of redundant because I already talked about pollination preservation gardens. Phase 2 was to clean out the woodland area, and we kept putting it off because until the St. Mark's Street was finished, we didn't want to be confused with that because it's on an adjacent parcel. And we were going to ask for CPA money to make the improvements needed. There was tree work needed. Basically, there's a whole section of the property under the trees. It's been used as a dumping zone for all the leaves in the whole, the cemetery and the library. And it's basically killing the trees or causing disease.
About that, they were doing some spring cleaning of the cemetery last week, I believe it was. Well,
Yeah.
sometime within the past week. I saw them carrying a huge bundle towards that area.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
it's
they're
not a
still doing it.
compost area, right? Because when you pile up leaves up the side of a trunk of a tree, what happens is you create
Decomposition and no
it's
air.
moist, and it disease and rot up the trunk.
Right.
It's not what's supposed to happen, and also all the debris. So our phase 2 was to have that cleaned out, and then there's a lot of invasive plants there, and there's also tree limbs that are, like when I work with the young women from the students from the Advanced Math and Science Academy, I tell them, if you hear a noise, don't look up to see what it is, just run. Because you don't want to be impaled. They call them, back in the day, they called them widow makers, or you could call them widower makers, but,
Right.
they're,
But what I was saying is we couldn't start phase 2 and all of that until we know they're going to stop dumping there. Because as of this past week, they were dumping there. Know what I mean?
well, correct. So phase 2 would be, the first step would be, because we didn't get the funding to do it, right?
Right.
Was be to ask the DPW to clean it out. So then if they're the ones cleaning it out, they'd kind of get the point that they can't do it anymore.
But is it the DPW or is it a hired
Hired
landscape?
by the DPW.
Right. So that's the problem, is getting that
Well, no,
message.
the DPW needs to inform them not to do that anymore. And come up with another plan where they
I
can
am doing it, and I thought about that. I'm like, no, don't keep adding.
Yeah, so the question is, where are they going to take it? right? And the other thing I forgot to ask this year, the first year, we told them, do not do not
Mhm.
blow. If you've ever seen the machines they use for blowing the leaves, 70% of our native bees live in the ground and other insects as well. And did you know that lightning bugs, which fireflies, I grew up, I still have them in my yard because we don't landscape like that. But the reason they make the flashing lights, that's the male calling, that's how they advertise they're in town. And the females, one of the reasons they're going extinct is because of all the light pollution. They can't see them. I just went off on a tangent, sorry. But the other thing is, it takes them 2 years living in leaf litter before they become an adult. So every time we blow all the leaves, it's not just, there's butterflies that live in the leaf litter over winter and fireflies. You're killing all that. But when I went there, when they were leaf blowing, the pressure, it was like sandblasting. There's nothing living in that soil after they go through with that. I think you would be, sandblasting. I think if you stood in front of it, you would get hurt by the force of the blowing. So we got them not to blow the leaves at the library. And then this year I thought they just knew not to. And I went by and all the leaves were gone. So I assume they did. But this is also part of the master plan. Remember where it's not just about using native plants, it's changing landscape practices townwide. And that's a challenge, and it's part of our in the master plan implementation. I don't know, where do we start? Well, we can start with the library pollinator garden, right?
Yep.
And get that area. So what would you suggest we do, Sarah, about that area?
I mean, the first thing would be to stop, even before cleaning out, is to stop dumping.
So that
What
would
about-
require,
If it's the DPW, why couldn't they bring it to the transfer station where the yard waste goes?
they can. It would require, instead of just blowing or dragging it there, it would require putting it in a truck and transporting it, which is, I'm assuming, is the reason. So,
They're already carrying it to that location over rock walls and everything. It's not asking much more to put it in a truck and drive it a mile or
I'm with
two.
you. So, can I ask Sam another question? If he's still a panelist? One thing, it would require a conversation with the DPW, and I know we are in the process of hiring a new DPW director. Sam, do you know where that stands?
Yep, we actually are working on that, and I'm hoping that that's going to happen in the next week or two here.
And what would your gut be about his workload when he first comes on, to have a conversation with the Open Space Preservation Commission about this?
I'm sure that the new one is going to be very busy for a while. So, frankly, I think you're probably better off waiting a little while, let them get their feet on the ground. And you probably are going to get more attention as they have a chance to sort of get oriented, would be my guess. But again, certainly free to reach out whenever that happens and ask for a time to chat.
I think as long as maybe we can have a discussion before fall. I mean, the spring cleanup's already happened.
Yeah, maybe we should send an email sooner rather than wait too long, and say, once he's appointed, say hello. We understand you're going to be very busy, but we want to put this on your radar.
That's very sexist, Freddie. It could be a she, you know.
It was for some
I
reason,
know.
I thought I had heard it was a man, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the last one that we made the offer to and he then backed out was a he, certainly. So
That must be what I'm thinking of. So I don't know. I don't even know who the candidates are. So yes, that was probably my thinking. It was the one who had already been offered a job.
it doesn't matter. We need somebody there. So I'm hoping we're closing in on it. So
Okay. So that's a plan of action for that. I had another question for you, Sam, if you don't mind, seeing as you're here.
sure.
What
Yep.
would be the proper procedure if we were to get someone to do pro bono work for us?
I mean, what kind of pro bono work?
Well, at the library gardens area,
Yeah.
edging and, work, heavier work, cleaning out that garden area, whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, the simple answer is I don't really know, but I would suggest you touch base with Mark Purple. I mean, all you guys are pro bono. So, we got a lot of people who do pro bono work for the town. But if you, for example, had a landscaper, for example, who was willing to do pro bono work, I think that would be great, but there may be some liability issues or something there. So it'd be good to check with Mark and see if there are any other things you need to worry about or paperwork you need for that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about, the value and if they do other work for the town or.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it would be good again to double. If Mark doesn't have a problem with it, I think you're in good shape.
Okay. I just don't want to get called out for, we had someone do something wonderful for us. It was an emergency situation. And after the fact, I wondered, did we need to get permission for that or? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but always good to check. If Mark signs off on it, then you're covered, I think.
Okay, that's great. So I guess that was that. Chestnut Hill Farm update. I know nothing. I've heard nothing. It's going on a year now since their conservation restriction required management plan. We wrote a letter last April and have not had resolution on most of our comments. I heard they hired a farmer, but what that means, I don't know. And since we first raised the issue of the bobolink habitat not being managed properly, and at this meeting we've talked about, and that was one of the key drivers of the mentioned in the conservation restriction purpose. We've heard that there was, after we had the first discussion and it was going to be managed properly, that they went in and grazed again, and the bobolinks would normally be arriving soon. It will be interesting to see, because from what we've heard from an abutter who used to own the property, they wiped out the bobolink nesting habitat, and it didn't look good for this year either. So something we need to follow up on. What's the story there? Next item, planning board open space review. So did I mention this before, that every year the planning board takes a look at open space parcels in town, and they hire a consultant to go out and look and see what's going on. And it's not enforcement, but it's more informational. They find if there's encroachment, if the land is in the condition one would expect. And then they write a report and let the planning board know. When they do this, the town planner goes through that database of all that I talked about before. She goes through it and picks different subdivisions for them to use. And she always likes to run it by the Open Space Preservation Commission if we think those are the right ones or we have other ones we're concerned about. And I thought she might know, but she said maybe next week she'll know. So I don't know that we'll have a meeting before she needs to have the information. Would you give me permission to give my okay or not on it if we don't have a meeting? But I'd prefer that you all get to see it as well. I'll certainly send you the list. Oh, I'll send you the list and then you can send her comments if you have concerns about it. It's always challenging with the open meeting law piece.
Sure, me.
Anything, Sarah, there?
I said, okay.
Okay.
Um,
I was hoping we'd have it tonight so we could discuss it. That's why I put it on the agenda, but just like us, she's running with a lot of projects on the
we
plate.
haven't received it yet.
No.
Actually,
Oh, there's one more thing I forgot. Let me see. This is going back, I'm going back up under chair report, you could say this is, or under Planet Palooza. Last year, we supported the Southborough Scholarship Committee, had a scholarship for honoring Linda Hubley, and the money went to somebody, a student going into environmental studies or who has volunteered or helped out with the town on environmental issues. And we dedicated the Planet Palooza in her memory to help bring awareness that people could donate to it. And I'm not sure what the, we don't actually ask for money or get involved in any of that, but we just highlight why there's that scholarship and where people, you know, when we do the promotion for the Planet Palooza, we mention there's a scholarship and that people can donate to it. Would we be willing to do that again?
yeah, I think so.
Anything, CJ?
Sounds good.
Sounds good? Okay. Well, I have two other things I sent you last minute. We have until the 20th to send a report. And it was right before the meeting started that I noticed them in my inbox. They came from the planning board. And one is a site plan and another one is about a stone wall removal. I've never think I've been on a hearing about a stone wall removal before, but it certainly comes into scenic views and I'm not sure how else it comes into play with open space, but we should look at it because they sent it to us to send comments if we wanted to. I'm not expecting us to look at it tonight, but I wanted to talk about it. Certainly for the plan, Sarah, you remember when we used to go through the plans and we'd sit around the table and, you know, highlight where the,
Yep.
you know, in subdivisions, it's more critical because there's a certain amount of land that's being set aside as open space. In the more recent site plans where we've been playing a role, it's looking at the landscape plans and checking the plants and are they, you know, are they the best ones? And this could be an opportunity for the whole commission to participate in reviewing and seeing how using the recommendations we just talked about earlier in the meeting come into play in an actual plan. And if I had my preference, it would be to have a meeting in person again to do this and to meet in person. And is that something in any conceivable way that could happen with your schedules?
Depends. It just all depends on the day and the time.
So how what would work for you, Sarah, and what would work for you, CJ? Could you do a weeknight at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock or a Saturday? I don't even know if we can meet on a Saturday, but
Yeah, weeknight would have to be like after 7 for me. Potentially a weekend, like a Saturday evening maybe.
Saturday night is kind of tough for a public meeting. I don't know if the town would let us do that. A weeknight, what, are you saying 7:30,
7 would work.
7 o'clock? Sarah, could you ever do that with your kids?
How long would it be?
Well, here's the thing. If we can get Leslie to come, we would have a quorum. She works, her schedule for work is some nights and some days, so I don't know that she knows. And she also, I think, does her grandchildren, so she's also, challenged. But if Leslie could come, then if you had to leave early, we would still have a quorum. And the other thing I would say is we could make it, if there was only 3 and we didn't have, all 4 that could make it one night, which is never the preference, but we could make it as short as you needed it to be. If we all looked at we could do maybe a combination of a regular meeting and a, just look at the plan meeting, right?
Right, because I'm just thinking maybe like something 7 to 8 would work for me.
So a quick 1 hour.
Maybe even 8:30, but I don't.
Okay.
It would depend on the weeknight.
Well, does it matter to you which weeknight, CJ?
Generally speaking, no. I mean, there, things that come up every now and again, but Monday through Friday shouldn't really make a big difference for me.
Okay. How old's the baby now?
Coming on 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies.
I know.
Because you just had the baby when you asked to get on the commission, and it took us a while to get up and running, but wow, 9 months. So Sarah, why don't I leave it up to, I'll put out an email for a night that works for you. And I'll ask if she knows in advance. I think Leslie can maybe schedule her work a little bit, but not last minute. And I'll try to look at dates. Do you have a night that's better than other nights?
Let me
You don't
see.
have to decide right now, but if it's like,
Probably either a Tuesday, a Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right? I'd say Wednesday, Thursday.
okay,
Um,
where's my calendar? And I'll do it by email. I'll see what Leslie has. I'm thinking probably if next week is,
and maybe Monday too.
ooh. Okay. I think it will depend on, and what Leslie has to say. And
Okay.
I'm just looking at my calendar. So the 20th of April is a Thursday. So they must be meeting on the 24th. So if we could, potentially even meet on that week, that would give Leslie some time to let her work know, like the 17th, 18th, 19th, something like that. And in the meantime, we can look at the plans. Let me see what she says and what you say, okay? In an email. And before we leave tonight, I'm going to ask if people want to spend any time looking at the requirements in the open space and rec plan or in the master plan? And if there's anything in there that interests you personally to work on, my goal is, I think it's really hard for Leslie and CJ to come in and we have all this, it's a lot of information to just jump in. But I don't want to be sitting here every meeting talking. So anything you wanted, that is, you find exciting or that you want to focus on, think about it and come, send me an email or say you want to take ownership or you want to learn more about it and, move into the ownership of that topic. So that you can feel like, again, a sense of ownership. I'll say ownership again, like you're a participant, not a listener.
Mhm.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on that, Freddie. I'll probably follow up with you on an email.
Okay. That would be good because I can't imagine it's, like, I'm tired of talking and I wouldn't, you're probably tired of listening. So, and once we, when we're out there doing the projects, it's really exciting and you have to talk about them so that we have permission to do them. But it's more exciting if you're, you know what the project is or if you've done it or whatever.
Right. I will say when we used to meet in person and we used to have things going on pre-COVID, it was a lot different.
Yeah. So, CJ, when there would be a project proponent, they would often come in and meet with us and we'd go over the plans with them and have discussions. And, COVID really hit all kinds of life in ways he didn't expect. The work of this commission, particularly, I'm thinking of now, and it still does. And then what happens is with these Zoom meetings, they're really easy. It's easier to do a Zoom than to be in person, but the type of work you can do is so different. That's why to go through the plans, I'd really rather be in person.
Yeah, makes
Because
sense.
then it makes sense what we're talking about.
Right.
So, and CJ, you can certainly come to a garden work day and bring the baby. What's the baby's name?
Lachlan.
What?
Sorry, my voice is gone. Lachlan.
Lachlan?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. You don't have to, you can just come by and say hi and, feel more a part of something than not coming, but you don't have to pick up a shovel if you got a baby and you're in tow, right?
Yeah, good
I
excuse not to get my hands dirty there.
Huh?
A good excuse not to get my hands dirty.
Yeah. And then just feeling more like what's going on, without an expectation, because we want to meet the commissioners where they're at, and we're really happy. I'm really glad that you're both part of the commission because we couldn't meet if you weren't. All right. So is there anything else?
Not for
Any,
me.
nothing? All right. And Sarah, I'll tell you how to send the meeting minutes out, and it is 8:46. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to end the meeting at 8:46.
Is there a
Okay.
second?
I second.
All in favor? Sarah?
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
DJ Tully in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor. Betsy, thank you for your help tonight.
Sorry
And,
about that, guys.
well,
Jeez.
you made me feel better because I didn't have anyone. So thank you and good night all. Good night, Sam.
Good night.
Everyone, good night.